Ever wonder why the dollar exchange rate seems to be soaring higher than an eagle, while your purchasing power seems to be sinking lower than a submarine? Let's embark on a journey to unravel this enigma. Now, imagine you're holding a dollar bill. Picture it as a ticket to buy goods and services. But here's the catch. The number of goods this ticket can fetch changes over time. When the dollar exchange rate is high, your ticket can get you more goods overseas. Sounds like good news, right? But wait, there's a flip side. The value of your ticket, the dollar, is also connected to inflation. Inflation is like that mischievous wind which slowly but surely erodes the sandcastle of your purchasing power. When inflation rises, the amount of goods your dollar can buy decreases. It's as if your ticket is losing its magical power to fetch goods. So we have this peculiar dance where the dollar exchange rate and inflation move in tandem. When one goes up, the other tends to go down. It's like a seesaw, with your purchasing power precariously perched in the middle. Now let's look at the larger picture. The high dollar exchange rate and inflation don't just affect your wallet, they ripple through the economy. Businesses that rely on imported goods suffer when the dollar exchange rate is high. They have to spend more dollars to get the same amount of goods. And when inflation is high, people's purchasing power decreases, which leads to less spending, and less spending can lead to a sluggish economy. We're all players in this grand economic symphony, where the notes of dollar exchange and inflation create a harmony or a discord that affects us all. The high note of the dollar and the low note of inflation can create a melody that's hard to dance to. So we see how these soaring rates and inflation can leave us feeling like we're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Now that we've understood the problem, let's delve a little deeper into its causes. The high dollar exchange rate and inflation are not just numbers that magically appear. They are the result of a combination of factors, some within a country's control, and others at the mercy of global economic trends. Let's start with government policies. These can include anything from fiscal policies, like how much a government spends and on what, to monetary policies, which involve controlling the money supply to keep inflation in check. If a government spends more than it earns, or prints more money than the economy can absorb, it can lead to inflation and a depreciating currency. Then we have global economic trends. These are the large-scale shifts in the world economy that can significantly impact a country's exchange rate and inflation. For example, if a large economy like the United States raises its interest rates, investors might pull their money out of smaller economies and invest in the US for a higher return. This can lead to a fall in the value of the smaller country's currency. Now, these two factors don't operate in isolation. They interact and exacerbate each other in a sort of feedback loop. Let's say a country is facing economic troubles, and the government decides to print more money to stimulate the economy. This can lead to inflation. In response to the rising inflation, investors might start pulling their money out, leading to a fall in the value of the currency. The falling currency can then make imports more expensive, which can further fuel inflation. As we've seen, these issues are complex and intertwined, much like a Gordian knot. But with a deeper understanding, we're better equipped to untangle this knot and find a remedy for the high dollar exchange rate and inflation from the perspective of the Bible. Now, what if I told you that the good book itself has something to say about all this? Yes, indeed, the Bible, as old as it is, has a wealth of wisdom about the economy and wealth. Take, for instance, the parable of the talents found in the book of Matthew chapter 25. In this story, a master entrusts his servants with his wealth, each according to their abilities. The one who received 5 talents doubled his money by trading, as did the one who received 2. But the one who received 1 talent, fearing loss, buried his money in the ground. Upon the master's return, he praised the first 2 servants for their wise investments and rebuked the third for his lack of initiative. What does this teach us about economy? Well, it encourages investment and the efficient use of resources. It warns against hoarding wealth and inactivity, which could be seen as a caution against economic stagnation. Moving on, let's look at the parable of the unjust steward in Luke chapter 16. An interesting tale about a manager who, upon learning of his imminent dismissal, reduces the debts of his master's debtors to ensure their goodwill. Now, this steward may not be the most ethical character, but his shrewdness is praised. He uses his position to ensure his future well-being. From this, we can glean that it's wise to foresee economic changes and adapt accordingly. And how does this relate to our current economic situation? These parables emphasize the importance of proactive financial management, wise investment, and adaptability in the face of change. They push us to think critically about how we manage our resources and respond to economic challenges. So, in the midst of high dollar exchange rates and inflation, the Bible nudges us to consider how we can wisely invest and manage our resources. It encourages us to be forward-thinking, to anticipate changes, and to make decisions that will benefit us in the long run. So the Bible isn't just ancient history, it's got wisdom for today's economic woes too. We've heard what the Bible says, but how does that translate to our modern world? Let's start with stewardship. The Bible teaches us to be good stewards of our resources, and this principle can be directly applied to our economic practices. Instead of focusing solely on profit, we should aim to manage our resources wisely, investing in sustainable practices and technologies. This could mean supporting businesses that prioritize environmental sustainability, or advocating for policies that promote responsible resource management. Next, let's talk about justice and equity. The Bible is clear on the importance of fair trade and just measures. In our modern economy, this could translate to advocating for fair trade policies, pushing for equal opportunities, and fighting against economic practices that disproportionately affect the poor and vulnerable. It's about creating an economy that benefits everyone, not just a select few. And then we have the principle of community resilience. The Bible teaches us the value of community and mutual support. In terms of economics, this could mean building stronger local economies that can withstand global economic shocks. It could mean investing in local businesses, promoting community-based projects, or supporting initiatives that foster local self-reliance. But how does this all tie into the high dollar exchange rates and inflation? Well, by promoting stewardship, we could help create a more sustainable and balanced global economy, potentially easing the pressure on the dollar. By advocating for justice and equity, we could help ensure that economic benefits are more evenly distributed, possibly reducing the extremes of wealth and poverty that can contribute to inflation. And by fostering community resilience, we could help build economies that are less vulnerable to the ups and downs of the global market. By applying these biblical principles, we can start to untangle the knots of high dollar exchange rates and inflation. These are not overnight solutions, but with time and commitment, they can help us navigate towards a more equitable and sustainable economic future. So where does this leave us in our quest to understand and tackle high dollar exchange rates and inflation? In this journey, we've peeled back layers of economic jargon, dove deep into the heart of the matter, and found ourselves standing on the firm ground of biblical wisdom. We've seen how these ancient texts, though penned in a time far removed from our own, still speak with relevance and authority to our contemporary circumstances. We've grappled with the enigma of high dollar exchange rates and inflation, unraveling their complexities and their impacts. And in the midst of this intricate economic tapestry, we've discovered threads of biblical insight, woven through the fabric of financial principles and practices. We've looked through the lens of the Bible, seeing the economy not just as a system of numbers and graphs, but as a reflection of our values, our priorities, and our relationships. We've seen how principles of generosity, stewardship, and justice could provide fresh perspectives and innovative solutions to these pressing economic issues. But this isn't just about understanding, it's about action. It's about taking these biblical insights and applying them in our own lives, in our communities, and in our world. It's about asking how we can be better stewards of our resources, how we can promote economic justice, and how we can contribute to a more equitable and sustainable economy. So as we wrap up this exploration, let's not just leave these ideas here, let's take them with us. Let's ponder on them, let's discuss them, and let's put them into practice. Because this isn't just about economics, it's about our values, our communities, and our future. And remember, the Bible's wisdom isn't just for the past, it's a guide for our present and a beacon for our future, even in matters of the economy.